Good evening, everyone. So I hope that you are as excited as I am. I am Martha Fontaine, and I'm just excited to be a part of this discussion. And so I want to introduce to you an amazing lady, just a phenomenal writer, and we want to bring her on the scene so we can talk about this book, Mr. Smoke. So come on, Aja, let's bring you on the scene.
Hi. How you doing, Martha?
I am great. I am great. I am great. So I cannot wait to dive into this discussion. And so let's just kind of get started if you're ready.
Oh, I'm ready.
All right, all right. So I love the Soulmate series, and so I loved how you ended it with Mother Zora. And so, what drove you to bring Smoke into, decide to craft a story around Smoke?
Well, I wish I had something that was just like a beautiful telling of how smoke arrived in my creativity. Well, you know what? Maybe it is. Whenever I'm creating, usually like the book covers, the concept, and I'm working with my cover designer, Sean D. Young. Whenever I'm working with her, we start looking at the characters, who's going to who's going to represent all the characters in the story. And we worked on the Soulmate series, and then it was around this same time that I came across the image that is now the Smoke cover. And I loved it. So I acquired the image. And then I started to get deeper into the Soulmate series, writing it. And as I'm talking about this father figure, I'm realizing that the father of these girls in Zora's ex is the same man that I chose. And I didn't know what I was going to do with him. Okay. I just had this image and I loved him. I loved that smoke that was behind him. And I was like, oh my goodness, you know what? He's their dad. And his name is going to be Smoke. Okay. So even though I had named him Elijah Lewis in the series, I realized he would be called Smoke. And it's at this time, I'm not even finished with the Soulmate series, that I'm realizing that I'm creating now another series. So that's how he was born, because I never fully intended to write a story about him at all. It was only going to be the Soulmate series, and he was just going to be mentioned in that story. But then, the other thing about it was because of how complicated and rich Zora was, and how complicated her background was with Elijah, I felt like Elijah needed a voice, because the only people that we heard from were the people that he hurt, okay, his daughters and his wife. So because of that, I felt like we needed to hear his side. So all of this is happening. Me having this image, me realizing that this image is Smoke, and then me feeling like for sure he needs to have his own story. Um, and it was in realizing that Smoke became Smoke. And I started to think about, okay, so what is his actual story? And I realized that it didn't end with Smoke, that it would be an entire series of characters that would help to explain what Smoke was doing when he was not um, with Zora.
Mm. And so this series, you call it the Enigma series. So what made you decide to call it the Enigma series?
Okay, because I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't know, not that I didn't know what I was doing as far as writing, but I didn't know what they were, who he was, and he was an enigma to me. So because of that, I've named it the Enigma series. And then this was before I shared with anyone that it would be the Enigma series. This is what I was calling it. And then I realized part of the mystery was that they are a mysterious family. Um, a lot of, because we're first person, you get to see and experience them close up, but the outside world isn't experiencing them that way. They don't know that these are the people who are running the underground of the city of Pittsburgh. Like, they have no idea um, who Smoke is, who what Smoke Enterprises is. They have no idea. They are an enigma to the city of Pittsburgh. So even though initially when I named it for myself, I had no idea that it would turn into that. That's exactly what it is. They are an enigma.
Perfect, perfect. So, with that being an enigma, this is a departure from your norm as far as the writing. I mean, we're getting into things more gritty, slice of urban, mysterious, the drama, the suspense. So, what was going through your thought as you pursued this new endeavor?
I don't know what I was thinking. Okay, let me just start there. I'm someone who likes to keep it real. Um, I don't. I know that there's probably a more polished way to say that I didn't know what I was doing and I just ended up doing it, but that's really what it was. I just wanted to tell his story. And when I realized who he was and what he had been up to, the life that he was living, even while he was with Zora, the things that pushed him away, the things that made him hard, it was then that I realized this couldn't just be the typical romance that I like to tell. For those of you who are watching, you know me to write passionate fiction, women's fiction, and romance. And my male characters, as some of my readers have informed me, that they are mostly cinnamon heroes. They're sweet. They love and adore their women. And I really don't put my heroines through a lot of hell when it comes to these heroes. So Smoke is really like the very first character that is not perfect in that way. I mean, he really, like, if when you meet him in the Soulmate series, you don't want him to have nobody, okay? And so for me to choose someone like that and then to write a story about them, I knew that it couldn't be sweet. It needed to have that grit. I needed to go into his world. So that's what brought me into the genre to write. Um, and I didn't want to define it so much, but then I had to, because you kind of have to tell people, okay, what kind of book this is, so that they don't get caught up in something they don't want to purchase and read. Um, but in wanting to tell an honest story about Smoke, I had to change genres. And fortunately for me, I wasn't too afraid of it because I had already had some experience working with another author in the past, who wrote in the urban fiction genre. So there were a couple of things that um, I guess, new, like some nuances to the genre. And having read a lot of mystery, a lot of romance suspense. I mean, some of my favorite authors writes romance suspense. So a little of that helped to, I guess, guide me a little bit. But for the most part, I just I just went for something new, just wanted to tell this story. And I'm just happy that it was received well by the majority of my readers.
And I also want to say, within the that smoke was, you also touched on some historical fiction as well, like when you really looked at his best friend Jimmy, and going back. Like, I love that portion. Really looking at his grandfather, and during World War II, and so I appreciate you bringing that in as well. So it definitely was not the typical, again, like, even though it was a departure from your norm with the urban and the gritty side, but you also brought in that slice of historical fiction as well. So I appreciate that too.
Thank you. And I really have to um thank my husband for that, especially giving Jimmy and Jimmy's background, his father's background. That My husband was the one who inspired me to tell that part of the story. Because he wanted to know about Jimmy. He wanted to know about his background, and he really pushed me to pull some really historical facts about Pittsburgh into the story, because Pittsburgh has a very rich background, especially during the Renaissance, Harlem Renaissance era. There was like our own little Harlem Renaissance happening right here on the Hill District. So if you know anything about like PBS, they have a lot of programs about Wiley Avenue. Wiley Avenue is through the Hill District, and it was like, it was jumping back in the day. And so a lot of that I wanted to make sure was included. And if you've been reading my stories, you know that I'm often, like, most of my stories, all but like maybe two, are set in Pittsburgh. And that's intentional for me. I want to make sure that my hometown, my city, is represented to the fullest. Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. That was great. So, Smoke again, like we had our impression of him from the Soulmate series, like the father who wasn't present, and like even watching Zora kind of come out of the ashes and open herself to love again. So there was definitely this idea of Smoke. And so, as you were crafting this story, what helped you to pull out what we now know as Smoke, versus what we thought of him from the Soulmate series?
That's a good question. I think because no one, well, I shouldn't say no one. I'm sure there's some people, we can all think of some people who are all bad, right? Like they've turned into like the bad seed. But the majority of us, we're not all good and we're not all bad. We have some things about us. And Smoke had some shit about him. And I felt like it was time to show what a person who has this shit about them may also be contending with. What are their motivators? What are the things that, outside of selfishness, because if I'm going to write about him and I'm going to give him a story, I can't make him all selfish. But he was like, he did have some selfish qualities. We know this from the Soulmate series. We know this from specifically Soul Ties, the type of damage that was inflicted upon Zora. But if you read Soul Ties, you know that she takes some accountability for her own desire to have something that there were signs was gone. And I'm not saying that the blame is on her. I'm just saying that everybody has to take accountability for their actions. She had desires, and he was not the man, I think, to fulfill them. Um, his life kind of precluded him from being a really good man to Zora. So while that hurt her deeply, um, it was just something that needed to happen for Zora to find her forever man. And so it was important for me to then show what can happen to a person after they've made these decisions, after they've broken a really good heart. Um, what happens to them? And so you see him in the very beginning realizing or admitting his loneliness first to himself, you know. He's in his penthouse bedroom, with the TV on, turn it off, looks over on the bed, there's nobody there. The whole place is always empty. All he has is Butch. He has Butch and his children when they come around. And that was like a punishment for how he treated Zora. So I did punish him. I gave him a lonely life. You know what I mean? Um, but then I just decided to have mercy upon him and allow him to find some love. Um, but I just wanted to show the richness of a character that doesn't do all the right things when they have the opportunity to do it. And that also to give hope to people who uh have made their own mistakes. It's not the end. You just keep on living. You just every day you just do better than the day before. That's all you got to do. And it may not result in the love of your life, but it may just result in something that's just greater and better for you.
Good. It looks like one of the readers just asked, why did you feel Smoke was redeemable? So I think you've covered some of it, but just to address that question, why did you feel he was redeemable?
Because he was human. Because he's human. We all are, like, we're redeemable. People may not feel like we deserve it, but someone does. God does, our creator does. They don't, our creator doesn't give up on us. And because our creator does not give up on us, we can't give up on ourselves. So I just decided to tell that story, the story of someone who did not give up on themselves and decided to create a better world. Because if you pay any attention to his character, he admits that when he first got into the game, almost anything went. He was selling the drugs, all kinds of stuff. He was wild with it. And
Mm-hmm.
then he saw the decay in his community. And so while he didn't completely step out of the realm of crime, he decided that there were certain people that he would deal with and certain things that he would operate in, things that he would not touch, like the drugs. He would leave that alone because he just didn't like what it was doing, especially given what it had done specifically to Jimmy and Jimmy's family.
Like, yeah. All right. So, someone just asked, what was the hardest part in writing Smoke?
All of it. um Mostly for me, the hardest part of writing any of my books is always getting to know the characters. Because I mostly write in first person, it means I need to be the character. I'm not writing them from a narrator point of view. I'm not outside looking at them. I am them. So um I become them. And I'm not a 60-year-old man. I am, a 40 something year old woman. And so I had to gather everything that I have ever experienced with men in general, and then gather some more, all the experiences I've had with elder men. Even though Smoke wouldn't consider himself elder, but like, some of the aged men, and just also our perceptions of people as they grow older in general. And I had to gather all of that and then become it, and then write Smoke. So it took some time to get into his headspace, and then it took some time to then also see his two children, because this is a completely different world than Soulmates. I mean, Soulmates, I felt like I was them and they were me.
Mm-hmm.
I was writing women that I could completely identify with, and people told me all the time, like, I feel you so much in the Soulmate series. This is your vibe. And so to switch into this space that was just so dark and gritty, especially when I got into writing Maestro. I mean, like, but I'm gonna tell you, it was like natural to write him. So I'm worried about myself, but I don't want to get too off topic. So the hard part was really all of it. It was becoming these people and getting into this world. But once I was able to immerse myself, I feel like it was just natural.
Awesome. Awesome. So let's talk about Aaliyah. Being an avid reader, I feel like it's hard sometimes with the female lead. I think as readers, we get frustrated with the female leads for whatever reason. I think it's because we're so hard on ourselves often, and I think probably as writers, you probably thinking in that same mindset. So, can you walk us through how you crafted Aaliyah, and how challenging it was? Because there was amazing qualities about her. Like there was this boss diva about her, but then there was also this, like getting in the way. At the same token, like, did you just flash the took a picture in the midst of the gunfight? Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing? So talk us about Miss Leah.
First off, I love her name, Aaliyah. I named her after Aaliyah, the singer, because she was one of my favorite
Mm.
artists, and I just also love characters with their names begin with A, and so um, anyway, I just have a fondness for her name. And then um, in creating her, I realized that she needed to be a woman that was mature. So that even though there's this age gap, it wasn't the type of gap where it was creepy, or
Yeah, yeah.
he would feel like he was her dad or something like that. That she could be herself and he could be himself, and it would be okay. um so in creating this mature character that I did not give a family to, so I did not have her have children,
Mhm.
I knew that she would be extremely independent and sure of herself. This is just based on experiences I have with women who've not had to one answer to anybody, not every single day. They don't have to consider, not that they don't consider other people, but they don't have to in the ways that some of us who live with people, we're always having to think about everybody else all the time. I knew that she would be sure of herself, independent in her thinking, and used to doing things her own way. Okay. I also knew that because I created this background for her where she came from a foster care system, that she was completely um, experienced in looking out for herself. And that she would think that, the way that she's been looking out for herself would be enough for any situation that she ended up getting into, not realizing that she kind of like tiptoed into some shit that was really much bigger than what she could have imagined. Um, so in some kind of way, I had to have Smoke still be a hero. I mean, and that was part of his redeeming quality. Like me making him redeemable was to put him in a position to actually help someone, to show that he's a good man. And so making Aaliyah the type of person that would be flawed enough to have a mishap so that she could use the help of someone. That was kind of why I put her in that predicament. Also because she was nosy. And I think that kind of went with the whole investigative reporter part. Um, that she just, has to know everything. And like even when she's talking to Lonnie, her friend Lonnie, or her who is it?
Sure.
The CI, yeah, the
Mhm.
CI, when she's talking to her CI Lonnie, he's like, girl, don't do it, like,
He did warn her.
I could just look at you and tell you gonna do it, even if I done told you. It was nice knowing you, because she knew that the dangers of what she was getting ready to get herself into. But she just, like, she was just too stubborn and just too knowing. And because of that, she got herself into it. The mishap with the flash, I was thinking about the thing that I was telling you earlier before we started this live chat. Being in our menopausal or perimenopausal years, and how you're not as
Sharp.
sharp, right? You're not as sharp and quick
Mhm.
as you used to be.
Mhm.
Okay. And you don't realize that, these transition years in your 40s, you still got it, but you sometimes don't, and so
Mhm.
that because of that, I just really try to write characters real, like as we really are. And because of that, she's having this mishap because that is completely typical. I'm sometimes doing stuff on my phone and I'm thinking, as I'm doing it, darn it, I look like my mom. Like looking at the phone, I'm going like this. Like, I'm turning into my mom.
Mhm.
So yeah, that it was just really just creating a real character, not someone who was polished and someone who would have a little mishap, and it just happened at a terrible, terrible time.
And okay, so someone asked the question, what made you put Smoke with someone younger?
I think that well, partly because I like age gap romances. I've written one or two before. So it's something that I enjoy. And he had this look about him that made me think that he would be attractive to someone not his age. Not that he wouldn't be attractive to someone his age, but he would be attractive to someone not his age. He was just fine. It's just fine, motherfucker. You know what I mean? And so something just it made me want to pair him with someone a little bit younger, but also because I think it forced him to consider his age. I think it forced him to consider the wisdom, the age of him, and this is all happening at the right time because his children want him to move out of what he's doing. They want to take over. They want him to sit his ass down, okay, and
Mhm.
get out of these situations altogether. Um, so I think that, looking at Aaliyah and Aaliyah doing all the stuff that is driving him mad, realizing also this is the stuff his children is dealing with him. Like they do not want him out in these streets. And maybe it was just a way to balance it all. I don't know why I did it. I just did it.
Yes, and so one of the things I actually, I'm an avid reader. I read a lot, and so one of the things that I really appreciate about this story was this was show enough grown folks story, and so like when you read younger characters, they have time to process and time to fall in love and time to but when you're dealing with show enough grown folks, there's just this urgency where even some readers might say that was too fast.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, as you were crafting this story, this was an instant love.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you probably thought about the grown folk aspect. So share as you were creating this instant love, what was coming to your mind.
I actually really love the idea of knowing what you want and going for it. Okay. It's really like how I live my life. Not that I don't take time to contemplate, but I think because I spend so much time thinking, by the time a situation occurs in real life, like that's outside of my head, I've already thought of it so much. I've considered all the different angles. So I know that I'm ready. So I really enjoy writing Insta romances. If you notice, most of my stories they do move rather quickly, and like you said, also, there really isn't too much time to delay. I mean, at some point, if we're going to be real, how long is Smoke's penis going to, you know, do all the things that it needs to do? Like, he might got a good, 5 years before he might need some sort of enhancements. This is just me being real. Now, I mean,
Right.
he's keeping himself in shape and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So all those things do help, and he'll have his little CMOS and all that to help, keep everything going strong. But you know, we if I like I said I like the real component, so we gotta be honest, like he doesn't have forever. And so because of that, I didn't want to drag it out like he had forever. No, this man is lonely. He's admitted to himself he's lonely. He admitted to himself that he deserved this loneliness. But the moment that he has this opportunity, and Zora has, pretty much said to him, like this is your light. You need to grab a hold of it. Um, because she's already planted that in his head, and he's picking up that Aaliyah is this thing that Zora had
Mhm.
said. He knows, and he knows his ex is a psychic. He cannot play around with Zora. I mean, what Zora says comes to pass.
Yeah.
So you could fight it if you want it, but you're stupid to do that. And he's gained so much wisdom in these years without her. So now he knows he cannot delay. He's got to go for it. And Aaliyah is not very different. Aaliyah has, like I said, we talked about this. She's a result of the foster care system, and while she has Mama Dolores as her family, she's lacked that greater family and greater experience of having people in her life. And so she's desired that, but she's kind of given up hope that a lot of that will happen for her now that she's reached her 40s. But here she is, she has this man that's looking out for her. So for the first time, Aaliyah does not have to look out for herself. Someone has protected her. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so why waste time with that? Nah, Annie's fine. Girl, just
Don't waste that
jump
time.
on that. You know what I mean? I want to jump on it. So
Yes, yes. Someone just mentioned about Aaliyah learning about her foster sister's death was heartbreaking. I know writing that was difficult.
it really was. When she pulls into that parking spot and she's, listening to Mama Dolores talk about it, um, I was sitting there with her, because I was her.
Mhm.
And I was just imagining the voice of Mama Dolores and then hearing that news. And Aaliyah has said that the stories that she follows, those children, the women that are missing, anybody that's been done dirty, that she is trying to bring those stories to light, those people become her children in place of the children she never had. So her sister now is added. She's now added to the charges that Aaliyah has taken up under herself. And so not only is it a personal pain, it's a professional personal pain for her. And also the considering that she was able to come out of the foster care system and elevate herself in such a way that she did not have to do some of the things that her sister had to do to make a
Yeah.
living. And those type that guilt, that survivor's guilt that sometimes follows people. I wanted to kind of touch upon that with Aaliyah. So yeah, it was difficult, but I think that what I wanted to do was get to the bottom of what at least happened to her sister, and then there's this greater story of like what is all behind that I haven't revealed yet.
So when I found out that Smoke had other children, I was like, wait a minute, you left these beautiful girls and
Hmm.
now you have this family that's
Hmm.
part of the enterprise. Um, so let's talk about that when you pulled that together.
Yeah. Um, I have the personal experience of having a parent who went on to create a new life for themselves, and got remarried and had other children. And so those children are my siblings. And it's nothing like the mystery suspense that's going on here, where they're so divided and they don't know who they are. It's nothing like that. But I know what it's like to have like two different worlds, because I was raised by my mom and they were raised by their mom and my father. And we don't have the same household experiences. We have a whole different life. And my father is not a gangster or anything like that. So I don't have that grittiness to my story, but I tried to envision how different would the children who got to have Smoke be than the children who didn't have Smoke. And the children that didn't have smoke were definitely had some scars to them, some emotional scars from not having their father in their lives, and that impacted how they moved in their love relationships. But having a mother like Zora, made them some very strong, beautiful, just
Mhm.
oh, I just love Zola and Xena. I just do. I like every time I bring them up, I'm just in love. So Zora did an excellent job with these girls, but she could never be their father. And so now on the flip side, having someone like Smoke as a dad, can you imagine what these children are going to be like? And you see glimpses of it. I really don't give you a lot of slick. And
Mhm.
that's intentional because I wanted my readers to focus more on Maestro because Maestro is next.
Yeah.
Um, and so you see how twisted Maestro is, but also very calm. He's very calculated. He is his father's son, and we're going to see that. I got some a little bit of criticism about there not being a lot of action in a series or in a book that was like crime, mystery drama. They were expecting more of that. And while I tease at it, again, one of the things that's important to me is to write a realistic character. And let's just face it, as fine as this man is, he's 60-year old. Like he's a
Mhm.
60-year old. And not that a 60-year-old can't do things, but like let's just, I mean, he's not gonna be like flipping around dodging bullets and stuff like in the movies. Like it's just there's so much that Smoke can do. Even the little bit that he did down in that basement, caused him to have some pain in his shoulder. That's me writing a real character. So I wanted to make sure that I wasn't being unrealistic in the action. And of course, I could have, put him around Maestro and Slick to get to so that we could see from Smoke's point of view what those two younger characters were doing. But I didn't want to do that because then it would have dragged, and this is just my opinion, it would have dragged some parts of the story that the creator of the story, didn't feel was necessary. But readers can always have um their opinions, and I respect them and I learn from them. I really do try to listen and learn, and so that whenever I get to the next story, I can keep all those things in mind when writing the next story. But my promise to you all is that um, you will get a lot more action in this next book because this main character doesn't have any type of physical limitations. It will not be unrealistic for me to write him having several shootouts in the night, and not his shoulder not being needing to be iced up right after.
Good. And someone just commented that they didn't really expect Smoke to be hands-on, especially since he was ready to walk away, or
Yeah.
we anticipate that he was walking away. So, Carmen, Mother
Mm.
Carmen, are we going to hear more about her
Yeah,
in?
you definitely do. You have to because she is a key. She's a critical piece to the children's background. And since I wasn't writing from their point of view, I didn't give too much of their stories. I wanted that to be left for their individual books. So yeah, you'll know more about Carmen and why she goes missing.
Okay. And a couple of readers were wondering if there's in the future Smoke linking up with the girls, are Zola and Xena. Will they be able to interact? Antoinette actually asked specifically. And then also the possibility of Slick and Maestro meeting Zola and Xena.
Yeah, well, Zora has already said. So when Zora says something, it's already done. Meaning, like she knows that this is a thing that's going to happen. This is why she says, to him, and like it was either the next to the last chapter. She
Mhm.
says, it's time now, and it's because she knows something that she has not said to him, And he's getting to the place now where he's just like, okay, like he's not fighting her the way that he did back when they were younger, back when he was pushing her away, back when he was breaking her heart and being an asshole and all those terrible things that Smoke was. He now trusts Zora and the visions and the knowingness that she has. So when she said that, that was me telling you all that it's going to happen, because it's time. And it's time to bring worlds together. You can't while Zola Xena has become who they needed to be without their father, he's still a missing piece, and I think that they deserve to come to a completeness when it comes to their father, whether they choose to pursue having a relationship with him or not doesn't matter. Knowing your siblings in this world, I think, is also a very important thing. Whether you choose to kick it with them, just to have that initial connection so that you can decide what to do, I think that is only fair. So I'm going to give them that opportunity. So yes, you will definitely see the two sides come together.
I will say Zora is like superhero to me, like phenomenal, right? Because I loved that dialogue, that conversation that she had with Smoke at the end, and pretty much was like she set him free, like was
Yes.
forgiven, and and so what a telling story of strength, I mean, with all, I mean, we read Zora's story and what she dealt with Smoke in the past, and how even as she's raising her daughters, how she still had to push forward, you know, but to really free him in
Mhm.
that part, in that conversation, and then that baby, that oh my gosh,
Oh,
grabbed a hold of Smoke's face, and I just was like, just amazing. So again, thank you for giving us these amazing women,
thank you.
strong women in the story. Just phenomenal.
Thank you so much for receiving them in the way that I wanted to share them. Zora setting Smoke free is really just a part of her setting herself free, because while in Soul Ties, she seemingly heals. I think we all know that we have stages of healing and stages of letting things go. So, have you ever said to yourself, like, okay, I'm done with this? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to harp on this no more. I'm done. And then you do. And it seems like it. And then something happens or just life occurs and you realize you're still kind of thinking about some of that stuff. It may not be like where it was, but it's still there. So you're constantly shedding whatever it is that you're holding on to. It's not like a one time thing and it's done. No matter how many of us hard, like we gangsters with our emotions, the reality
Right.
is that's not like how we are as human beings. Like we still think about these things from time to time. And I think so, even though in Soul Ties I've written a character who has learned to let go, I also wanted to show that you can let go and you can keep letting go. And
Mm-hmm.
part of her, continuing to let go is letting him, now know that like everything that is probably eating away at him, he doesn't have to allow it to do that anymore because she's not suffering. I mean, she got Solomon Dick in the house, okay? She got she had, okay, she got her a fine man, and she has beautiful daughters, a beautiful granddaughter, okay? She has beautiful grandchildren and great grandchildren. I mean, like she has, remember in the beginning she gardens, but then she increases her garden to reach the size to accommodate the size of her family. So can you imagine what Zora's doing now in her backyard, to accommodate that family? That's how rich she is. When Smoke
Mm-hmm.
walks into her home, she has pictures on the wall. She is a free woman. She is a happy woman. I'm writing this for all these women who have been reading my stories, who want that experience and hope of being able to move past pain. I wrote Zora for y'all, okay? And I let that asshole come in the house and see she's over it.
Yeah.
So part of me freeing him was her finally like that final part of like, I'm showing this nigga that I'm done. Like I'm free. Okay. I get to show him how healed I am. Okay. So yeah, she can tell him, get on with your life and move on and do what you have to do, because she really has got it all now. There is not a thing that is suffering in Zora. And I love that. I love that I was able to write that for her. And I love that Smoke was able to see it, that everybody saw it. And so yeah, he can move on with his life now too.
Yes, yes, yes. You just preach right there. You just preach. Oh my gosh. But I loved it. And so like even when I thought about at the beginning, it was Zora that went to him, and then at the end he goes to her.
Yes.
And I was like, wow.
Hey girl, look at you.
Yeah, like, yeah. And so thank you. So again, that gives us hope, right? Because like you said, sometimes we're like, I'm over it, but then in reality, there's still some remnant of
Mhm.
hurt that we hold on to. And
Yeah.
so seeing her do that helps us to say, you know what, even in a book, it's
Mhm.
possible that
Yeah.
we can believe it's possible. And so that was just beautiful. And so like even thinking about, when you put that scene together, having him go to her, versus her approaching him again. Because I felt like once Zora had visited him, that was pretty much it. So,
Mhm.
what made you decide to have that part at the end for him to approach her?
Because the mighty oak has fallen. Like it's like he was this character in the series before, in the Soulmate series, and at the beginning of the book, where he's big and bad. Like he doesn't need anybody. He knows everything and whatever. Like even when she comes to him, he's really like not. He's acting as if he does not need her assistance. I think that losing his friend humble Smoke, even though it angered him and has turned him back. And you see my cat in the background. Look at him, part of the podcast. Oh gosh. Oh goodness.
It's all right. Cat's chilling.
I said I like to keep it real. Okay, so this is what happens in the whole front. Um, but the thing is, they've created a monster in Smoke. Okay, we're going to see the maestro, where Maestro gets it from. We're going to see it in this next book in Maestro because of what happens to Jimmy, but it also softens his heart. Okay, so while a duality happening, he's a monster, he's about to be a killer, but then he also has a sensitivity to life now, that a life was taken that was so dear to him. And that makes him kind of like fall to his knees emotionally, knowing that he needs to go to see this woman, knowing because she knows things that he realizes he can't ever know, and that he needed to always be trusting in her. And while he can't ever trust in her the way that he needed to those years ago, he can trust in her in like a, we're going to call it a friendship, being the parents of Zola and Xena. They can have this commonality, this friendship, and this togetherness and peace. So it's kind of like him offering peace, and him also kind of asking for forgiveness for being the way that he was without
Mm-hmm.
ever actually saying it. And this was why she doesn't say you are forgiven. She just says live your life like it's okay. It's okay to let go of all of that because I'm okay. So she knows what's in his heart. Okay. And so he just doesn't know how to express that, but she doesn't force him to say all those things.
And how powerful, because the message that was left at, his friend's death was recompense. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So certain that that word was playing in the back of his mind,
Mhm.
maybe it drove him to Caesar, like this recompense, so like all things come in to
Yeah.
roost, at this point, like, again, Bible talks about, what you sow, you also will reap. So,
Mhm.
so now the harvest has come. And so
Yeah,
To go to the spiritual woman at this point probably makes a whole lot of sense.
exactly. Yes.
Whole lot of sense. So it looks like there's a couple of readers, or one is claiming Maestro already and wants to hear more about Maestro. So
Yes, Kimmy.
Kimmy is claiming
Mhm.
Maestro already. So um, let's see if there are any questions from the readers. Any questions that you want to pose to Aja as we um, continue. So, a question, Aja: what was Smoke's greatest conflict?
I think his greatest conflict was letting go of the God complex that he had,
Hmm.
being vulnerable. And he makes himself vulnerable, number one, to himself by admitting that it's time for him to let this world go, but also vulnerable to a woman, um, like Aaliyah, because Aaliyah is everything someone like him should fear. She's all about seeking the truth and getting down to the bottom of it. And everything he's about is like hiding exactly who he is. And so he makes himself vulnerable. So his biggest conflict is really just letting go. And that was the thing that he could never do with Zora, if you recall. Like he could
Mhm.
not let go. He would not let her, influence him and his thinking and his direction in any kind of way. So he ultimately gives in to himself and then gives in to his affection and love for Aaliyah.
And someone just mentioned, someone says, congratulations on stepping outside of your comfort zone and creating this awesome book, which I totally
Thank
agree.
you
Totally agree.
so much.
But someone mentioned how they loved how Aaliyah was confident in herself to say she wants to meet Zora, that she wasn't threatened at all. And I thought that was powerful too, powerful as well. And like you were saying, while Smoke wanted to hide, Aaliyah was like, let's go,
Mhm.
let's talk it
Yeah,
out, let's get all the truth out. I do this. Well, okay, like even when the murder part, and so it's like, well, certain people have to no
they got
longer
they got to be dead.
like, okay, got it. So I love that about Aaliyah. Like she
Mhm.
just wasn't shook by the truth because she was a truth seeker.
Yes.
Truth seeker. Yeah. Chelsea just mentioned, I love that there wasn't no push and pull when it came to them getting together. They knew what they wanted and went after it. And I
Thank
agree.
you.
I agree with that as well. All right. Any other comments? I love Smoke told Aaliyah during that scene. Yes. So, but definitely great growth. You know what I mean? So like even at 60, there's room for growth. And I appreciate that as well, because I think, when you're getting with someone that's much older, or you write a story about someone that's older, of course the stereotypes out there, they're set in their ways. But
Mhm.
I think that's one of the redeeming quality, was that he was open to growing. Um,
Mhm.
and so I think if we can always be open to that, there's always hope for each and every one of us.
Look at you giving my messages. Yes, that's it.
See, I caught on though. You see, I caught
Ooh,
on to your
you
message.
always do.
All right. So let's see any other comments down below. Um, so do you want to give us a little taste sample of what's to come?
Sure, I can share a little bit of Maestro. So, it's not been edited. It's very, very raw and raggedy. Okay, so no judgment, y'all. But I will say that, Maestro. I warned readers that Smoke was going to be uh coarse, something that we weren't accustomed to as far as my writing. Um, and it is going to be coarser for Maestro because you've met him, so he's twisted in ways. He enjoys inflicting pain, and I gotta tell you, like when he was killing that, so Maestro, that very last little additional scene at the end, that was not planned. This man just showed up in my head and was like, "You gonna write this?" You know what I mean? And I listened because I didn't want to end up in that chair with the drill going, coming in on me. So I just gave him what he wanted, and I just had so much pleasure writing that. Like that one eye, where the guy was like the one eye looking. Oh my gosh! Like I just loved it. So I'm having fun, and I'm going to continue having fun writing Maestro, because there's so much freedom in writing a story outside of like the typical romance experience. So this, what I'm getting ready to read, is not going to be sweet at all. It's going to be more of what you've been introduced to.
Okay.
And it's just going to get you a little inside his head. I got pleasure from killing motherfuckers, not shooting them and them just dying. That shit was too easy. If you knew how to aim right, most niggas was killing still targets anyway. So all they had to do was get over taking a life, which wasn't hard to do if your soul had vacated your body and you was just killing on autopilot. That wasn't me by any means. I had a soul, but I enjoyed collecting the destitute souls of grimy motherfuckers and sending their asses to hell. I liked, no, I loved watching life leave their eyes bit by bit as I delivered trauma to their weakened bodies. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't into killing a nigga just cuz. There was always just cause. I wasn't psycho or some shit. Hmm. Or maybe I was. I'm just saying that when a nigga deserved to die, I love to be the one to give them what their actions asked for. Take this nigga right here. And that's where I'm gonna stop. I love writing him. He's just so him. But the other thing about him is it's been difficult to come out of that space from him, so that you can see this other softness that it does exist, because I am giving him a woman. So this crazy man is
We
giving him a woman.
several in the chat ready to jump on to be his woman.
Kimmy Farrell, who writes wonderful romances. So check out her books. I think what I had 8 naughty notes, so I think she had 9 frosty nights, maybe. Kimmy, don't be mad at me if I got that wrong. Definitely check out her books. She has another one as well. So yeah, Kimmy has claimed Maestro. I won't get in the midst of any type of arguments or disputes. I'll let her hash that out. But she definitely is a lover of Maestro. And I think I saw a comment below by Chelsea. So you all know Chelsea Marie, who, yeah, she writes beautiful
Yeah.
romance books. I'm in awe of her prolific nature and her catalog in general, and just seems to be a beautiful spirit as well. So Kimmy and Chelsea, so thank you so much for being sisters in the pen and joining me here.
All right, we are excited about Maestro and loved Smoke. So thank you, Aja, for giving us just amazing reads and just stretching out, stepping out of your comfort zone and giving us this new series. And so, I'm with you. I'm with you every
And
step.
I appreciate it. I don't take that for granted. I don't take any of you for granted that you have continued on this journey with me. You don't have to spend your time reading my books, but you do. And not only do you do that, but you send me notes and messages. You write reviews or leave ratings. It's just been a wonderful experience, I think, and journey that I've had with this career of mine. And I feel so encouraged to be able to write what I love, and that there are other people that love that too. So thank you so much for participating with me. And I think we have something for the people who have decided to join us and heard a little piece of Maestro, don't we?
Yes, we do, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for staying with us. We got a little reveal. for you, just and only for you all. Not everyone else don't get the privilege.
You're the only ones that
They're
are
the
saying
only
this.
ones. So the ones that's claiming Maestro or who's fighting over Maestro, we're gonna turn it over to Aja to give us the reveal.
Yes. Mm.
That looks yummy.
Thank you so much.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to you, Aja. Thank you again for allowing me to be the host. This was amazing, great dialogue and readers. Thank you all for joining us. Chelsea said, "Can I purchase now? Take my coins."
All right, you and Kimmy have a discussion because I mean I know Kimmy gonna hit me up. She's gonna hit me up about Maestro. I want to say, Martha you have done an amazing job with this discussion. It's just been an effortless flow, talking about smoke and the transition from the Soulmate series into this one. So I just thank you so much for giving your time, energy, and that educator teacher experience from being in front of that classroom. I mean, you just really did an awesome job with this book discussion. So I just thank you so much for even in allowing yourself to be here for this, and everything that you put forth. And I want to thank my readers and new and old, been with me from the beginning, and those who just jumped on with the release of Smoke. I really appreciate you coming on this journey with me because, as I said, I really didn't know what I was doing. I follow my heart in all things. People tell you to follow your brain and your mind, and if I had done that, I might have never stepped out of any of the boxes that I've been put in my entire life. So I choose to follow my heart because it's a good heart, and so it knows what's best for me. So thank you so much for coming on this journey with me as I try new things. The Enigma series is a wonderful experience, even if it's a tough one. It's a wonderful experience because it pushes me as a writer, as an author, and I really am enjoying these new characters and the new experience of writing mystery, suspense, urban, whatever it is. I'm enjoying it. I want to thank Sean D. Young, who is my graphic designer. So she brings everything that you see, the visuals. She is the mastermind behind that. I want to thank her so much. She also is an author. So look up Sean D. Young, look up her works. Definitely get started. The Love Connection series is one of my favorite series. But I have got to thank Sean so much for that visual and for being the person that you're not seeing right now that's making Em and I look real good right now. So thank you
Yeah.
so much, Sean. And I want to thank, the people in my life that have constantly pushed me to be better. And if that's you and you're out there, if you're some of my readers that have, pushed me and encouraged me and sent me any love, I thank you. But I want to take some time to thank my husband, my friends, my family, my mom, for always pushing me in this gift. So, even though it's just a book discussion, I'm not winning an award. I always take every opportunity to thank those people and thank the creator for constantly putting the gift inside of me and growing this gift that's inside of me, and I try to include my love for, God in my work and the signs of him, in my work. So thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for being here. And I hope that if you didn't get to see this live viewing and you're watching it now, that you've enjoyed the experience as well. You can follow me on social media, Aja the Writer, AJATHEWRITER, all across social media. And then right there, the link. So if you're looking for any specific information, you can go to that link and locate it there. So I think that's it. I don't think that we have anything else for tonight. So thank you so much, and you have a wonderful evening.